Hello, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. I hope you enjoy listening to books. Today, I'm here to explore a very intriguing book titled Dining Out, subtitled A Global History of Restaurants. When it comes to dining out, it instantly piques the interest of most people. After all, food is the heaven of the people, and eating is perhaps the most universally resonant topic in human society. Rarely do you find someone, regardless of age or gender, who doesn't enjoy eating. So, where can you find the most diverse and delicious cuisines? It's undoubtedly in restaurants. Thus, we often gather to dine out for celebrations, romantic occasions, social gatherings with friends, for networking, and even for business discussions. In modern society, restaurants have become an indispensable part of our lives. However, few contemplate the history of restaurants, not just the history of specific restaurants or food chains but the development of the entire institution of restaurants in human society. Questions arise: who were the first to establish restaurants globally? Where did they originate? Why did the need to dine out emerge? How did the culinary industries around the world integrate while maintaining their regional flavors? How did the roles within restaurants, such as owners, chefs, and waitstaff, evolve? How do ancient diners differ from contemporary ones? These seemingly basic questions often lack immediate answers. The book I'm introducing today, Dining Out, provides a comprehensive overview of the history of restaurants. It spans from 400 BC to the present, detailing the development of restaurants in various countries across the East and the West. It doesn't merely discuss food but delves into social, political, economic, cultural, technological, and aesthetic aspects. Indeed, the realm of restaurants extends far beyond cooking and eating. It mirrors the societal changes throughout history, offering a glimpse into different strata of life within eras. The rise and prosperity of the restaurant industry consistently correlate with changes in economic progress, population movements, political divisions, and technological advancements. Thus, the topic of restaurants offers an endless avenue for exploration into various societal elements. The authors of this book, Katie Rawson from the University of Pennsylvania and Elliot Shore from the prestigious liberal arts institution Bryn Mawr College, as well as serving as the school's library director, have dedicated years of research to the history and culture of food. They have published numerous scholarly works on the subject. Within this book, they extensively reference archives, journals, literary works, and renowned artworks to trace the evolution of restaurants in human history. Reading this book will make you realize the multitude of cultural anecdotes surrounding restaurants. Next, I'll break down this book into two parts for your understanding. The first part discusses the history of restaurants, why they emerged, how they evolved in different countries, and the factors influencing them. The second part explores the diverse individuals within restaurants, the interactions among owners, chefs, waiters, and diners, and how these roles fostered the prosperity of restaurants. Through these historical accounts and the portrayal of individuals, you'll discover that dining out is not merely a shift in lifestyle, it reflects the entire societal and temporal changes. For instance, it sheds light on the evolution of dietary structures and cooking methods, the shaping of societal life by political reforms and economic developments, and the continuous elevation of women's status. In summary, restaurants offer us a unique window through which to observe the world. Part 1. Let's delve into the historical development of restaurants, explore how they came about, and discover when and where the world's earliest restaurant emerged. The answer might surprise you. According to the author's research, the world's earliest restaurant appeared in the northern Song dynasty capital of Kaifeng in China around 1100 AD. Does this timeline seem later than you imagined? You might wonder if people before this period had no experience of dining out. Of course, they did. For instance, the ancient Greeks were famous for their symposiums. These gatherings involved communal drinking and sharing of food, typically attended by individuals of higher social status. Through these convivial gatherings, they forged political or economic alliances and expanded their social circles. However, symposiums were usually held in private residences, not in restaurants. For instance, Plato's renowned work, Symposium, records discussions among a few individuals drinking at home. Ancient Greeks enjoyed drinking wine, with wines back then often more potent than those today. But were there no recreational venues akin to taverns available in the market? There were many. In the city-state of Athens, small taverns were scattered around, primarily catering to the middle and lower classes and not favored by the upper echelons. Wealthier individuals could buy wine in bulk from these taverns if they had the means. Archaeological remnants from Athens unearthed a plethora of kitchenware and tableware, offering glimpses of the lively scenes in these taverns. Whether it was the lavish symposiums or the relatively affordable fare in taverns, everyone pursued pleasure. For over a millennium, the dining-out experience in cities around the world was akin to these taverns, teahouses, coffee shops, street food stalls, small shops, and clubs. In larger cities, there were more options available, catering to a broader audience. For instance, in Paris, London, and Madrid, one vital food source for the lower classes was street-side food stalls, as many households lacked kitchens, necessitating the purchase of ready-made food to take home or consume en route. While these food stalls offered limited dishes and lacked the entertainment aspect of taverns, they were integral to ancient dining-out experiences. These food stalls resembled today's street vendors pushing carts or delis not providing seating for eating in. However, whether Greek taverns or these Western city food stalls, they weren't the restaurants as we know them today, they were early prototypes. Genuine restaurants required at least 4 elements: a varied selection of food allowing customers to choose from menus, a dining space with utensils, staff members providing service, and payment for food by customers. Judging by these criteria, neither the Greek taverns nor the city food stalls qualified as restaurants. True restaurants emerged later, specifically in the late Northern Song dynasty in Kaifeng, China. In Zhangzidwan's, along the river during the Qingming festival, one can witness the bustling scenes along the Bian River in Kaifeng. During this period, Kaifeng wasn't merely home to the previously mentioned taverns, food stalls, and vendors, it also hosted specialty restaurants showcasing various regional cuisines from all over China, including Southern cuisine, Northern cuisine, and Sichuanese dishes. Visitors from the southern regions struggled with the taste of northern food, leading to the establishment of specialty eateries catering to southern tastes. The most vivid and detailed description of the restaurant scene in late Northern Song dynasty Kaifeng is found in Meng Yuanlao's Dreams of the Capital of the Eastern Capital. This book, frequently referenced by subsequent generations, including in Dining Out, describes, in every restaurant, regardless of who you were, even if only 2 people sat together for a drink, they would use a set of cups, 2 plates, 5 fruit and vegetable dishes, and 3 to 5 bowls for vegetables. This arrangement of cups, plates, bowls, and dishes resembles today's dining experience. However, the utensils used then were markedly different from those of today. According to Professor Zhao Dongmei, a Chinese historian at Peking University, the prominent restaurants in Kaifeng used silver plates and bowls, with just one set possibly costing nearly 100 taels of silver. Such grandeur is scarcely seen in regular restaurants today. During that era, the restaurant offerings were extensive, ranging from ingredients like lamb, chicken, goose, duck, rabbit, quail, fish, shrimp, clams, mushrooms, and more. In terms of cooking methods, there were stews, soups, roasts, grills, fries, sautés, and braises. Not only were the dishes diverse, but the service was exceptional as well. All dishes were served promptly and without deficiency, and any changes requested by guests were instantly accommodated. The restaurant staff was well trained, equipped with paper and pen to take orders. Those responsible for serving were highly skilled, carrying large trays and balancing up to 20 bowls of food. Moreover, during the Song dynasty, the restaurants permitted outside merchants to sell various cooked dishes, seasonal vegetables, and dried fruits within their premises. If a customer was dissatisfied with the restaurant's offerings, the restaurant could send someone outside to purchase complimentary dishes for the meal. After the emergence of restaurants in China, their influence gradually spread outward. So, when did restaurants first appear in Europe? According to the author, it was nearly 700 years later than in China, around the 1860s, when the first restaurants emerged in Paris, France. Interestingly, the initial set of Parisian restaurants termed themselves sanatoriums, dedicated to providing scientific and medically based food that maintained and restored health for their patrons. Such an ideology sounds sophisticated even today, let alone more than 2 centuries ago. Alongside the health-conscious approach to food, these restaurants boasted luxurious and elegant decor, along with exquisite porcelain tableware. This style birthed a business philosophy aiming for personalized and aesthetically pleasing hospitality, a principle that still influences restaurants worldwide. From 1789 to 1793, during the French Revolution, the first set of luxurious restaurants officially opened in Paris. These included Provençal Brothers Restaurant, London Grand Hotel, Fashionable Beef Restaurant, and Gautier Restaurant, among others. How luxurious were they? They flaunted gleaming silverware, large mirrors, exquisite porcelain, colossal lighting fixtures, and opulent furniture, making the restaurants resplendent. For instance, the London Grand Hotel could accommodate 250 to 300 diners and offered 318 dishes. The creator of this hotel, Antoine Beauvilliers, had an illustrious background as a royal chef. He later authored a culinary book, establishing the foundation for French national cuisine and transforming French dining practices. He introduced sauce, stuffing, and a range of culinary techniques previously exclusive to the aristocracy to a new upper class consisting of merchants, entrepreneurs, artists, and intellectuals. Now, why did the French Revolution foster the rise of so many restaurants? The revolution ousted the aristocracy, leaving many previously employed in noble households, such as stewards, chefs, and maids, jobless. Approximately 2 million individuals from this demographic found themselves unemployed. A significant portion of them flowed into the food service industry. The premier chefs who previously cooked for aristocratic families, including pastry chefs, sauce chefs, and bakers, became head chefs in various restaurants. The vast group of maids became the service staff in these restaurants. Surprisingly, a political revolution inadvertently led to a culinary revolution, making elite cuisine and service, once reserved for noble households, accessible to a wider audience. The influence of the French culinary revolution rapidly spread to neighboring countries, with the author stating that French restaurants became an essential export product. The restaurant industry flourished in Europe and quickly disseminated to North America. In 1830, the Delmonico family from Switzerland opened their first restaurant in New York, introducing French cuisine and utilizing many novel ingredients not widely consumed previously. They offered over 300 dishes, setting the standard for upscale dining in America. By the mid-20th century, restaurants became increasingly prevalent worldwide, extending dining-out services that were previously reserved for the upper echelons to a broader population of the middle and lower classes. Simultaneously, cafes, bars, clubs, and similar establishments quietly emerged, making restaurants a staple of urban life. From the Greek symposiums and taverns to the flourishing restaurant industry in Kaifeng during the Northern Song dynasty and the more modern European and American restaurants, one can observe the enormous shaping power of political and economic changes on daily life. The development of the restaurant industry and the evolution of culinary culture are twin siblings, mutually influencing and propelling each other forward. The prosperity of the restaurant industry created a more diverse and abundant array of cuisines for society. Each region's distinctive cuisine requires the influence of restaurants to disseminate globally. Therefore, the globalization of restaurants is a microcosm of global cultural exchange. Well, after discussing the historical development of restaurants, in the second part, let's talk about the various people in restaurants, mainly including restaurant owners, chefs, waiters, and diners. Let's see how the interactions among these 4 types of people have contributed to the prosperity of the catering industry. First, let's talk about restaurant owners, or rather, the operators of restaurants. In the early days of the European and American restaurant industry, the main clientele came from the upper class, so the restaurant's decoration had to be exquisite and luxurious. Dining in a restaurant was a symbol of social status. Those who could afford such upscale restaurants undoubtedly possessed substantial financial strength. For instance, the Swiss Delmonico family, as mentioned earlier, started in transoceanic trade, doing business in tobacco, wine, and timber in places like Cuba and New York, accumulating their first fortune. In the early days of opening restaurants in America, they established their own farm because they were not entirely satisfied with the local ingredients. This ensured the quality and variety of their food. The book contains 2 photos of the Delmonico restaurant's lobby and kitchen, showing the enormous scale of the restaurant and its bustling business, with dozens of tables all occupied. The customers in the restaurant were well-dressed ladies and gentlemen, with tables adorned with flowers, candlesticks, and exquisite ceramic and glass tableware. There were grand and elegant chandeliers on the ceiling. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, 20 or so chefs all wore white uniforms with tall chef hats, each working skillfully and methodically. The construction cost of this restaurant reached an unprecedented $100,000. Just the wine stored in the underground cellar amounted to 16,000 bottles. The restaurant had 3 floors and a dedicated private room area. They immediately became leaders in American culinary fashion. Of course, only businessmen with strong financial resources could manage such a large-scale restaurant. As the catering industry developed, the market gradually extended to the middle and lower income groups, and restaurant owners didn't necessarily have to be particularly large-scale bosses. Each restaurant targeted its consumer group based on its operating costs, location, food offerings, and services. But what can be confirmed is that restaurants catered to all sorts of people daily. As an operator, one had to be flexible, act decisively, and preferably be good at socializing to make the business more and more prosperous. Restaurant owners undoubtedly serve as important driving forces in the development of the catering industry. At the same time, they are also the primary disseminators of culinary culture. Without the push from restaurant owners, we might not have had the chance to taste French cuisine, Japanese dishes, or Korean barbecue in China. Nor could we casually enter a Chinese restaurant while traveling abroad to savor the taste of home. Alright, after discussing restaurant owners, let's move on to talk about chefs. The success of a restaurant and the presence of repeat customers often hinge on the chef's skills, making chefs considered the heart of the restaurant. Admiration for chefs has existed for a long time, especially since the rise of television media when chefs often became performers on screen. Top chefs might even become social celebrities. However, according to the author, chefs are much more than just cooks. A good chef needs to understand customers, know how to manage the kitchen, and shape food. Besides, they need a profound understanding of culinary culture. We've previously cited examples from China and Europe. This time, let's talk about a Japanese example. You might have heard of the famous kaiseki cuisine, originally meals served by hosts to guests in Japanese tea rooms. These meals were extremely delicate, served in an elegant and tranquil environment close to nature. In Kyoto, Japan, the tea rooms had a common master, Sen no Rikyu, revered as Japan's tea saint. Rikyu passed his culinary skills to 3 male descendants, who, in turn, passed the skills down to their respective apprentices, eventually forming different culinary schools, each named after their chefs. You might ask, what distinguishes one school from another? It's the menu. The menu, determined by the chefs, not only lists the dishes but also includes the serving style and cooking method. From cutting to cooking and plating, there are specific aesthetic considerations. Chefs need to connect the ingredients with the customer's experience. This is their purpose. For example, among Sen no Rikyu's 3 male descendants was a man named Soten. Soten was an early representative of high-end cuisine in Japan and globally. His primary business was hosting banquets, providing specialized meals for individuals and tea rooms on specific occasions. His core philosophy was, food should be in tune with the moment, including the current season, occasion, and the people participating in the banquet. He arranged food in terms of color and texture, cleverly combining dishes to create anticipation among guests. He used poetry and famous utensils from historical texts to serve dishes, creating a visual spectacle, turning a meal into a significant event. He hoped people would view dining as an opportunity for communication and sharing experiences and memories, making each meal a precious memory for the future. Chefs are creators of culinary culture. They not only create ways and ideas of dining but also continuously innovate in kitchen layout and cooking techniques. For instance, in 19th century Europe, chefs' lifespans were shorter than average due to prolonged exposure to coal fires and spoiled food. In France, Alexis Soyer, titled The First Chef, completely transformed the kitchen, designing a futuristic kitchen space. The kitchen's most notable feature was precise temperature control. For instance, the kitchen had large ovens, with boiling stoves, egg custard ovens, and steam cabinets on either side of the oven, maximizing the use of oven residual heat. He also invented a set of movable metal cover plates that could block heat and reflect it onto the food that needed insulation. Most importantly, he was the first to use a gas stove in the kitchen. Previously, kitchens used coal, leading to chefs accumulating excessive toxic gases, resulting in illnesses like kidney failure. The gas stove not only made the kitchen cleaner and more hygienic but also protected the chef's health and safety. Chefs are an important driving force behind culinary reform. They not only create delicious food but also create food culture and lifestyles. Alright, after talking about chefs, let's move on to talk about waiters, or using the more common term today, servers, those who provide dining services to guests. However, in ancient Japanese restaurants, female waitresses might be associated with sexual services. For example, during Japan's Edo period, roughly from the early 17th century to the mid-19th century, at the entrances of some restaurants along traffic routes, there were special, rice-serving women. They were both waitresses in the restaurant and considered lower-class prostitutes. They were legally prohibited from wearing anything other than cotton cloth to distinguish them from high-class prostitutes or geishas wearing silk. However, some rice-serving women only provided dining services, not sexual services, but they still became objects of flirtation for male customers. The status of rice-serving women in Japan was low, with little opportunity for upward mobility. But in France, it was not uncommon for someone to transition from being a waiter to becoming a restaurant manager or even a master of a restaurant empire. In France, waiters undergo formal training. They must be familiar with the menu and dining etiquette, have the ability to control the situation, and be agile and flexible. During training, they might carry plates and cups while running to train their balance. Additionally, memory and adaptability are crucial for servers. They need to remember each customer's needs and react quickly to questions or objections. A top-notch server must be observant and able to read customers' minds like magic, perceiving the emotions and needs of everyone in the restaurant and managing them. This demands a high level of comprehensive quality in a person, so it's not surprising for them to rise to become a restaurant manager or even establish their own dining brand. In the 19th century, both in Europe and America and China, waiters were mainly men. However, this changed dramatically in the 20th century. With the increase in the types and numbers of restaurants, more and more women entered lower to middle-class restaurants. In 1900, women made up 40% of the wait staff in the United States. By 1940, the proportion of female waiters increased to 68%. The reason behind this change was related to the gentle and delicate qualities of women, but the author points out that this might have been a deliberate guidance from restaurant owners. Restaurant operators would focus on the dressing and appearance of female servers, making them more eye-catching and charming. By the mid-20th century, female servers in Western countries' restaurants had become media favorites as modern ladies, featuring in magazines, photographs, comics, essays, and novels. For instance, someone wrote a poem titled "The Restaurant Girl," praising female servers. The poem describes them as follows: for the artist, the sight of her darting around is a magnificent painting. When she deftly balances trays full of food, she will show her magic. You can praise a war hero and set him up as a role model. But the girl behind the counter, she is the most dazzling pearl. Female servers received increasing attention and respect. A good restaurant doesn't only provide great food but also needs to offer quality service. The combination of good food and service determines the customer's dining experience. So, in today's fiercely competitive catering industry, restaurant operators will increasingly focus on service quality, highlighting the importance of servers. Sure, let's talk about diners, those who visit restaurants to dine. Today, regardless of age or gender, as long as there's money, anyone can dine out with family or friends, enjoying food and service. However, for a long time in the past, the majority dining in restaurants were men, and women rarely appeared. Women dining out were often judged as inappropriate. This was a prevalent global phenomenon until the latter half of the 19th century when there was a slow change, though not without difficulties. At that time, many high-end restaurants, clubs, and pubs exclusively served men. Their menus and decorations catered to men's tastes, either denying entry to women or requiring them to be accompanied by men to gain access. By the early 20th century, the dining choices for middle-class American and European women rapidly expanded, enlarging the female customer base. Observant restaurant operators discovered that attracting beautiful and elegant female customers would increase their clientele. Consequently, they began designing decorations more appealing to female aesthetics. For instance, adding floral patterns to windows, ceilings, and tablecloths, and incorporating more foods favored by women in their menus. They also strategically seated high-profile female customers near windows, attracting more people from outside to dine in. The rise in women's social status and spending power significantly contributed to the prosperity of the restaurant industry. Alright, we've covered the essence of this book almost entirely. Let's summarize. Firstly, we discussed the historical development of the catering industry, from ancient Greek symposiums and taverns to the emergence of restaurants in northern Song dynasty Kaifeng, then the unexpected impact of the French Revolution on European dining, and how European dining spread to America. Secondly, we delved into the roles played by restaurant owners, chefs, servers, and diners in driving the prosperity of the catering industry. Restaurant owners are the propagators of culinary culture, chefs are the heart of the restaurant, creators of culinary culture and cooking techniques, servers elevate the dining experience, while the expanded customer base and increased consumption demands guarantee the industry's prosperity. As always, restaurants are never just places for cooking and eating, they mirror societal historical changes. The lifestyle of dining out implies more significant, intricate topics like politics, economics, culture, demographics, technology, and more, which deserve deeper exploration. Lastly, I'd like to say that the transformation of culinary culture is a process of integration and interaction, blending different social classes and various regions. Restaurants are the magical boxes where this unique blend happens, and the chefs within are the sorcerers holding the secrets of all ingredients. Let's dine out and let the sorcerers weave their magic for us. Alright, that's it for this book. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice, achieve our financial goals, and create a better future together. Thank you, goodbye.